Ryomen Sukuna is one of the coolest new gen villains, and while his character seems very empty apart from being the incarnation of evil, there is actually way more depth to his character. In today's video, we are going to be discussing Sukuna's abilities as well as his character. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, and I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of August, but only sub to my channel if you enjoyed the content that I put out. And as promised, since you got the gojo video to over 50 likes, here's the Sukuna video. And this time, let's try to reach 100 likes for a Suguru Geto video. In the comments, you can let me know what you think about Sukuna's character. You can also give me criticism or character suggestions for future videos. But with all this out the way, let's get into it. Just like with Gojo's video, every time I say the strongest, I'm counting both of them together. That is to avoid wasting time or to avoid saying except Gojo or debatable with Gojo every single time. So first thing first, Sukuna's physical abilities are insane. He has insane strength, insane speed, insane endurance, insane reflexes, as well as great tactical intellect, being able to outsmart Gojo multiple times in the domain battle. He also has the ability to create eyes and mouths on his host's body, allowing him to see or speak without having control over the body. Sukuna also has a very large amount of curse energy, and while Yuta has more curse energy than Gojo, Sukuna basically has double of Yuta's curse energy, being one of the only characters that can use multiple domains in the same day. But usually there is a reason for it. Gojo's 6 eyes burning such a little amount of curse energy allows him to use his domain multiple times in the same day. Jackpot Akari, having infinite curse energy, has the ability to use multiple domains in the same days as well. Sukuna can use multiple domains in the same day without having any of those special conditions. He simply has enough curse energy to do so. There is a possibility that Yuta can also do the same, but there is no proof of that yet. Sukuna's curse technique is not officially revealed, but he is able to do a lot with his curse energy, these being mainly slashing techniques. First, he has Dismantle, which is mostly used against inanimate objects, but it can also be used against human, sorcerers or cursed spirits, and it is very effective. Then there is Cleave, which basically adjusts to his opponent's defense and curse energy. He can also use Cleave in the shape of a spider web, and basically it adapts to his surroundings toughness, basically destroying everything around him. And even for a strong opponent, he can mess up their footing, allowing Sukuna to get great hits on them. Sukuna also has a fire ability that we do not know much about. All we know is that he was able to destroy Jogo and Mahoraga at only 15 fingers. He is also the best user of reverse curse technique, with feats like accidentally healing Yuji's arm in the beginning of the series, or even healing Yuji a long time after his death. He is also good at using domain amplification. As we all know, a domain expansion neutralizes enemy defensive curse energy. A domain amplification works the same way. Basically, you can use amplification in your fist and be able to punch through Gojo's infinity. But it all depends on the strength, because Sukuna is strong enough to bypass infinity. But Hanami simply got outclassed when Gojo strengthened his curse energy. Another downside of this ability is that you cannot use your innate technique while using it, meaning that the user needs to be smart and alternate between that and his technique. Sukuna is also a very fast learner. After Kenjaku helped him once to create the fingers for his reincarnation, Sukuna got the gist of it and was able to do something similar to Megumi to steal his body, or even the fact that Gojo can heal his curse technique burnout with reverse curse technique. And Sukuna learned this after only saying this once. And for his final technique, we have Malevolent Shrine. Sukuna's domain is one of the only open domains in the series, meaning that there is no barrier and the person inside could escape if they were fast enough. This happened through a binding vow. By sacrificing his barrier, he can extend the range of his domain to something as big as a 200-meter radius. The advantage of a barrierless domain is that there is no barrier to destroy, meaning that as long as you're inside the domain, there is nothing you can do, unless your name is Gojo. After stealing Megumi's body, Sukuna now has access to the 10 shadows, which is also one of the best techniques in the verse. He not only has the abilities that Megumi had, the ability to summon all the 10 Shikigamis, but he even adds up to it. When the Shikigamis are summoned by Sukuna, they are stronger than when Megumi does, and that is by far. Even their size is not comparable. But Sukuna even has control over Mahoraga. Being the secret technique of the 10 shadows as well as the strongest Shikigami, it is not easy to control and he can even go against his master sometimes. But Sukuna has full control over him, and he's doing things that we wouldn't even imagine, like using the will on somebody else than Mahoraga himself, or even Sukuna switching place with Mahoraga and going to the shadows. There are still more uses of the 10 shadows, like combining them with one another, and there is still one Shikigami that we do not know. But I think we all get the point of this technique. So now that we're done talking about his abilities, it's time to talk about his character. So when we think about Sukuna, it seems like he's just an evil person. Somebody that just enjoys doing bad things for the sake of doing bad things. Somebody with not much depth in his character. But this couldn't be further from the truth. Sukuna is a very lonely person. And no matter who's here around him or here to serve him, Sukuna still feels lonely, because everything around him is weak. To him, weakness is a sin. By his philosophy, it is very simple. Why do you think you should be alive if you're not even strong enough to protect that life of yours? Sukuna is utterly disgusted by weakness. And while somebody like Yuji, for example, can tell Sukuna that whatever he's doing is cruel, Sukuna could say that he's the cruel one for being weak. As we could see in his fight against Jogo, even though he completely destroyed him, Jogo was still brave enough to face him, on top of showing some very impressive feats. And this is why Sukuna complimented him while he was dying, telling him that he's strong and that he shouldn't be ashamed of anything. And same goes with Gojo at this moment. With the smile that they both have on their face, you wouldn't believe that the world is at stake. And I can guarantee you that Sukuna will have a smile on his face even if he loses that fight, because he would have finally found what he was looking for. Somebody that was strong enough to beat him. And even though I wouldn't say that Sukuna likes Gojo, because of course they're on opposite sides, and there is still a part of them that hate each other, in the end he's still enjoying the fight. Even after fighting somebody like Yorozu who was pretty strong, he still felt kind of empty. But he remembered the word that Yorozu said: ultimate strength and the solitude it brings. I will be the one to teach you about love. Sukuna is looking for an equal. Even in his era, while he was the ruler, he was still not happy about anything. And that is because everybody feared him. Nobody stood up to him, or nobody was strong enough to stand up to him. But Sukuna is now able to go all out and suffer real injuries in a fight. Something that he hasn't experienced in a while, or maybe even never experienced. He has finally found what he has been looking for. He's not just an evil person that wants to do evil deeds. He was just a person that was destroying everything out of boredom and disgust. Even without being as strong as him, Sukuna showed respect to every single one that stood up to him, whether it was Yuji, Megumi, Yorozu, Ryu, or even Jogo. But aside from Ryomen, everybody that would just be scared or kneel whenever they saw him, it would just slice their head. He just cannot bring himself to understand how somebody can be happy serving somebody else. To him, everybody should want to be better. Everybody should want to be the one that rules. He also doesn't even understand the modern world system, because it isn't the strongest that are on top of the world. He just doesn't understand strong people who are willing to take orders from weaker people. Sukuna is also very unpredictable. When the disaster curses fed the fingers to Yuji, they did not expect things to go that way. To them, Sukuna was just going to come back and they were going to serve him. But in the end, the two girls that helped feed him the fingers got their heads sliced for making a simple request. And Jogo ended up being in a fight with Sukuna and died because of that. Sukuna is not on the hero side, but he's not on the villain side either. He simply does his own thing in the quest of filling the empty hole in his heart. The only reason why he's working with Kenjaku and Ryomen is because Ryomen always been his right-hand man, and because he has a pact with Kenjaku and they will be valuable to each other. But I wouldn't put it past any of those two to backstab each other. For the last section of this video, I want to talk about Sukuna being a fraud. Do I believe he is a fraud? Not necessarily. Do I believe that Gojo would have beat him in the Heian era? Probably yes. While I am on Gojo's side and I find the fraud Kuna memes funny, if I'm being honest, I don't know if I can call him a fraud, because he never told Gojo that he was stronger than him. All he said is that he was going to beat him. Never said that he would beat him fair and square, never said that he would do anything by the rules. So why does everybody act surprised when Sukuna pulls some tricks out of nowhere? Sukuna is known as the king of curses, the king of toxins, the king of negative emotions, that's where curses are from. Or I could even say the king of malice. His title is the disgraced one. And you're really expecting the same person to play by the rules? It just made sense to me that it wasn't going to be a one-on-one, so I don't get why everybody is acting so surprised about it. And even though people wanna say that he talked shit to Gojo or something along those lines, all he said is that he was going to kill him. A jujutsu fight are always been based on strategy, so now why is there a problem with using strategy? Toji waited for Gojo to be exhausted before attacking him. He had a foolproof plan to allow him to win that fight. Jujutsu fights have always been based on tricks, whoever can outplay or outsmart the opponents. And I would understand that feeling if Sukuna simply took Megumi's body to fight Gojo, because then that would mean that he went to look for help, he went to look for a way to get him to beat Gojo. But there are multiple speculation that he has a plan concerning Megumi, probably a plan to get his regular body back. And he probably wasn't even expecting Gojo to be released that early. So him being in the circumstances that he is in, facing Gojo, of course he's going to use all the abilities that he has. Is Sukuna shameless? Yes, of course, but is there a problem with that? Isn't that what his character is supposed to be? Since when were villains supposed to always play by the rules? Do you think Sukuna is a fraud, and do you think he's just an empty character whose only purpose is to be evil? Let me know all this in the comment. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of August, but sub to me only if you enjoy the content that I put out. If you can get this video to 100 likes, I will drop a Suguru Geto video. Tell me in the comment if you have any criticism or character suggestions for future videos, and I will see you next time. Peace.